20 minutes
Yeah.
to 5, so it's evening.
Okay, great. We are going live in a few. One, two, three. We in. So, like I had earlier indicated, the topic we intend to touch every other topic to the detail, and this time round we are touching um,
Family
negative
environment.
negative family environment as a cause of mental illness. And um, I have a question that I put up. No, I didn't share it with you, but we would have to center the discussion from right there. How does negative family environment cause mental illness? We already know and understand what mental illness is, and I'm sure that we were able to do a little research about negative family environment. So I would want us to touch some of those. I did a little research myself, and I I have a few points to discuss with you guys, and I'm sure if we go deeper into them, we shall have to learn one or two things, and whoever is out there viewing will definitely pick a thing or two. And I'm sure that's how best we're going to tackle this. So, two questions. How does negative family environment cause mental illness? And question two is how best can we address negative family environment as a cause of mental health? How best can we address negative family environment as a cause of mental illness? So, in the to begin with, we do not just say negative family environment caused this mental illness onto someone. How do we deal with it? How do we make it? It might not disappear, but how do we lessen that baggage of mental illness amongst the youths, amongst Africans, amongst anyone? So, you ready, Rachel?
Hi, yeah, I am. Well, this I would say is it's a good question, but also since we are touching family, it's families makes up a lot of things. It makes up societies. It makes up so many things. So the I would say most of us understand when we say negative or anything that's negative, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when that negativity enters into the dynamic of family, the whole family environment, then that's a whole different story. And through, I believe, and I have witnessed families, people being, greatly affected by the negative family environment, and right from childhood. So when you ask, or just to re just to repeat your question, you asked how does negative family environment affect mental health, right, Isaac?
Cause, or how
Oh,
does
cause. Yeah,
negative family environment cause mental
yeah,
illness?
right,
And
right.
well, we will understand already that anxiety is
Mm-hmm.
an illness. Depression itself is an illness.
It
So,
is.
in a family setting
Mm-hmm.
where there is, let's say, siblings, mom, dad, cousins, it could be a nuclear or an extended family. How, what sort of negativities are bringing this? And As far
Okay.
as I know,
Yeah.
with the little research that I did, I found out that chronic stress, if let's say you are in a family where people are stressed and the rest of the family members are unsupportive. For example, I might be stressed about something personal, whatever it is. Let's say I have siblings that I live with. I am a teenager who is 16, and 16, you are an adolescent of sorts. I have started seeing girls. There's this girl that I like, and who knows, I have tried to engage her and she doesn't like me back.
Yeah.
So because I do not have a close relationship, let's say with my dad or with my bigger sibling, brother or big sister, I didn't even know how to go about the situation. I didn't even tell them there's this girl that I like, so they don't know. They have no idea to begin with.
Right.
Now, I have tried to approach this girl, and all she's giving me is no, no, no. Like, I didn't expect it. So this hits me as a teenager, as an adolescent. It has hit me. I wanted her to be my girlfriend so bad. I tried to talk to her about it and, make us a thing. And she has just walked away. And I have no chance. And this is stressing me so bad.
Mhm.
And because it is stressing me, the stress itself brings about other things like anxiety. It might depress me because I'm not able to talk to my brother, with whom I would have confided in from the start. Let's say from the time I started feeling things for this girl. If we had had that relationship from the beginning, that I would freely talk to my brother
Express
or
to them
father,
what
or
to them.
whoever.
Yeah.
And because also I know, for example, my parents could be so tough. We are not friends at all. We are not close. I can't share something that, for me, it would be important. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I can't trust it, because who knows, my parents are so religious and they're so against anyone getting involved with um, eh, uh, uh, the other sex while they're still in school, for example. So it's a topic that I can't talk about with anyone. Because I can't talk about it with anyone, it stresses me. Now it is stressing me, and it is leading to my poor performance at everything. Let's say I get clumsy. They give me a glass to take water. I'm headed to the dining, and I just throw things. In class, I never concentrate. My performance levels have gone down. And everyone else, instead of trying to support me with the things that are beating me, let's say the performance at school is not good, what would a
Yeah.
parent do? Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that way, my parents are unsupportive, my siblings are unsupportive. This way, I will obviously get anxiety issues or depression. So
Or
that,
insecurities, or
or insecurity,
yeah,
because of
that
the
could lead to
negativity
something
of
else.
my
Right.
parents, and let's say the small connection with my siblings.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, I would say I'll give an example for myself of my family. I grew up in a relatively supportive family environment, I would
Yeah.
say, and relatively well designed, because I had firm social support. I would just not just from the immediate family of mother, father, and siblings, but also the extended relatives as well. And if you've grown up in an African community or family, it's not just your immediate parents, or it's not just the immediate family, that it's just the family. It's like a whole
Mm.
village, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
sure.
Exactly. So I would say for my case, it was relatively like really supportive. So I knew where I could go to, like I knew like I had firm social support to bank on for, especially when I was transitioning into my adolescent age, because that's really tricky. But also again, for some of the things that were taught to me of speaking up when something happens, which I am finding, and as I'm still growing, yeah, that some people never had, and that greatly affected, the way they turned up to be, their self esteem, their the way they deal with relationships, or even at jobs as well. So if a family environment is not supportive, or it's not safe in a way that you feel comfortable enough to talk about certain things, because for some people it's so unfortunate that they get abused, not just physically but even sexually and
Yeah.
emotionally. And this is within the family, like a relative.
An
And
uncle, somebody.
right. So when they get to speak up, they're silenced, and that pushes them like into a certain corner where they don't feel comfortable enough or safe enough to speak about things with family. They would rather speak about these things with a stranger. I I remember way back when I was still at school, and then I had this girl I used to admire because of the way she the charisma she had with the way she would carry herself, the way she was so much interested in doing things and everything. So we got into a group, and I later learned, because this is something she later like started sharing openly. So I later learned that she had been abused by her grandfather, and when she went to talk to her mother, the mother didn't help. Like, she actually
Because
scolded
she
her
didn't believe
badly.
her.
They were like, how could you accuse your grandfather of something like that? So instead of investigating that, or instead of uh giving her the support and everything, and she was young, she was like 10 when it started, because it went on for some years until she ran away from home. So you see that kind of environment of, okay, you have guardians you think would protect you, you're banking on them for safety, and something happened. So you approach them, you're like, hey, this happened. So instead of, approaching it in a way that's supportive, they dismiss you, because how dare you? For some people, they try to, I've had people who say, oh, you want to ruin the reputation of the family, but you're destroying a life of your family. You understand?
I
And
get.
so many of these instances happen when you hear people's stories. Some of us have, experienced some of these things. Like I said, the kind of abuse can go from emotional to sexual to physical. And if you've been in a family, or you're in a family that's there's domestic violence, there are high chances that one in like four people, like some of them will turn out to be the same exact as what
Mm,
was happening, because like I said, we are not born with these insecurities, and environment nurtures us in a way. So these are taught, we learn them, they are told to us. That's how we learn things like, or we get things, or we get to this place of being a people pleaser. You become insecure about your body because you've been told you're not in a certain shape that's good enough
mm,
to be considered beautiful, or something like that. And also there's something you mentioned before about when you were starting, um, about school, and you realize that when you ask so many in like people here, or you, the youth, I would say in their 20s, or even the ones that are campus right now, the courses they're doing, and if they chose those courses, or if they were forced by their parents to do that, so for some people, it's really bad, it's really sad that even the life decisions and not their life decisions, it's an impact from the family,
The
in a way that you want to
parents
please,
most.
in a way that like you're living for someone else other than you. And before you know it, these things escalate to like anxiety, and now you spend your 20s or your early teens dealing with something you don't even know where it's coming from, first of all. And I think also we are not honest enough about these situations, like
Mm.
the conversation we had before we came on here back in the studio, of when someone asks you how you are, you always want to be honest. So you find that it's many times we are not honest about what we are dealing with, or
Yeah.
what we are going through. Well, I kind of understand, because we've gotten to this point where the world doesn't care, you know. So what's the point of even
I
saying my
know.
truth if you're just going to bash me? So not everyone is strong enough to speak their mind, because they can't like handle the backlash, or whatever that is going to happen after that. So back to what you asked of the impact of negative family environment, I would
Yeah.
say it's really big, and it's something that we we take for granted as a society, because we are so dishonest about the reality, and that's how we are breeding youths that are turning into something that we later question, or we like, why is society turning into this, why is there so much increase in use of the drugs, why are the family dynamics dying? Well, it most of these things start from all this, like what kind of environment has been, or is being provided for the kids. I have a friend who's doing early child education, and that's something I took interest into to learn, as
Mm.
someone who's aspiring to be a parent someday, to unlearn certain things, but also learn certain things. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I have this thing with my friends. We say that if you've grown up in an African home, you need therapy. There's so many things like there are
True.
so many
Like,
things to learn, and learn. And for some people, they heal as they're parenting. Yeah. So I don't know what, Isaac, your family environment was growing up, because I find that's where most of who we turn out to be is shaped, like the early life of our the early stages of our lives. Where did we grow up from? How was the family like? Or how was the environment like? And also, what kind of bonds did we have? Or what kind of
mm.
bonds do we still have? So how I'll just uh,
Well, my my bond with the rest of my family members, I wouldn't say it was the best. It was a fair one. We all loved each other, yes, but as it is in most African families, the adult most times is right. Whether they are wrong, they are right.
yeah, like
And
there's no question. And sorry to
there's
cut you, but
there's
I
no
think
question.
that's where we learn people pleasing, because
Exactly.
the struggle.
So you mentioned that that they're friends of yours back in school that decided to take certain courses because their family, the families that they have pushed them to do those courses, and you find some people actually saying, nasoma bangamba nti nkole medicine,
Yeah,
nensoma
so I'm just doing it
medicine,
for my dad. That's it, you know.
bazadde bange nemba wa transcript. So is Yusuf on? Sorry, I had to use some Luganda, but you know, this is a story that everyone out here, let's say 80% of Africans, you are pushed to school to study something you're not interested in, to study something you never thought you would even study. You find someone studying medicine, they get done with their course, give the transcript to their
Because the
parents,
neighbor's kid is studying that, or some cousin, or, you know.
and you find them in the arts, for example. And you know, this comes from the parents themselves being negative about whatever co-curricular. It could be sports, it could be music, it could be dance, it could be anything. So they just have a mentality that he who acts or sings or plays soccer or any other sport has failed at everything else. So
Yeah.
whatever talent there is, instead of helping nurture this talent of this child, it could put food on their table, they simply cast you away and they call you names, which leads us to a point I wanted to address still, that would be a cause of mental illness, of course, riding through the negativity in a family, and that would be name calling. You know, have you been have you been in a situation where someone just nicknames you something really ugly, you don't like it, you feel abused by it?
It's even worse if you know the backstory of where that name is coming from. You know, sometimes it could come from what your parents did, so you take on whatever they did, or it could be how you look based off your physical appearance. Because for some people who are born with disabilities, you know, and things like there's also things like physical disabilities, you know, but
you're
also
belittled because
yeah,
maybe your
right,
eye has a defect. Even an
yeah,
albino, someone calls you a name
or
because you
some
have
certain,
albinism.
yeah, or some certain mental you know, conditions like autism, like like someone is epileptic, like for some people, because when you if you've when you do some research, or if you've been aside from the superstitions of this witchcraft and everything, when you
Yeah.
get to learn more about mental health, you realize that some of these things are like hereditary in a way. So someone is born with something that's hereditary, and because there's no proper research about that in the family, or because some people choose to keep quiet about situations like this, so they want to make excuses for, oh, it's witchcraft, or it could be something like the kid is not, you know, for the family, or like
Yeah.
anything but admitting what's going on and seeking for help. And for such kids, it's really hard for them to like come out, and like it takes a lot of strength, it takes a lot of social support, it takes a lot of zeal to like manage through all those, the abuse, the the
You.
the the lack of love or things like that. Recently, I was on Facebook and I was watching a boy who's a 17-year-old. He's Ugandan, but his growth is stunted, and he's somewhere in the village. And I want to believe some of these people are illiterate. There's a lot of ignorance, of course. And he was speaking of how he's so tired of living, because of why would he be like this? Why is he so different from his siblings? And everyone hates him, And
The-
some people were speaking of, like, again, like I said, they were speaking of, oh, it's witchcraft, or his mother did something, and they don't understand that this is a healthy condition, that there is medicine for it, but also, even if there is no medicine, he needs love. He needs to be reaffirmed that you're not the only one with something like this. There are people in the world that have the same condition as you. And it's even worse because now we have the social media, which is non-social in a sense. People are loners. People are, because we see so many fake lives, and yeah, people fake life on
ac-
here. So
Acted lives.
right, so you feel
Act,
like you are a failure. Like, there's no way you're fit to live in such a community
people
where other people are thriving and you're just failing. But
people
also, again,
put up personas.
right,
They get in front of a camera and it's a different persona, and you look at them on social media, you're like, oh my god, why isn't my whatever I'm doing, why isn't it working?
yeah. But it's also a platform where, for me, I think it's a key to awareness. Like, you can get so much self-awareness from just learning things on here, listening to people's stories and all. But again, the whole ignorance around so many of these things, mental health itself is a problem in itself, and it's so much in families that breeds that negativity, that pushes people into depression, into uh, having all these episodes of PTSD. So
PTSD.
yeah, sorry, PTSD. So it's also unfortunate that for some people they never survive it. Like, they end their lives because of
the,
too much
the,
pain or pressure.
the like the girl that you mentioned, the girl that got abused by the grandfather.
Yeah.
By the time she walked, she decided to leave home. She was traumatized because things have happened, and it is her very own who has, who is responsible. Her grandfather.
Right.
She engages the mom who doesn't believe
Grandfathers are
her.
known to be loving, so imagine.
There's no way you won't be traumatized. If she didn't
Exactly.
run away, maybe she would. If, let's say, she chose to stay, and then the
Because she
guy
ran
keeps on
away
doing
at
the same
15.
this
Yeah.
the same thing, trust me, anyone would get tired and be like, let me just take my life away. I can't take it anymore. Because the mom cannot listen. Because she can't tell any. If the mom cannot even believe her, who is going to believe her? So
Exactly.
I think, in a way, she could have done something else, perhaps gone to another family member, or, well, I know for a fact that there are rehabilitation centers. But now imagine a girl who is 15, or how old was she?
So it started when she was 10, and it went on until she ran away from home at 15.
So let's say it has happened between 10 and 15. She's not someone that could even think about going for rehabilitation at any center. It
Yeah.
only takes an adult to take that child to a rehabilitation center, because the adult understands exactly what sort of help they're going to get there. But again, let's say the girl was
Right.
informed and she knew other options that she could, get herself involved with to help herself. You walk to a rehabilitation center and you need help because things are happening. It won't even, those centers require an adult. to
They
take
do,
the
because at
child.
15, you're not an adult. Yeah.
You get what I mean? So there has to be
Right.
an adult to take you. Documentation has to be filled, and authorization of whatever before they even say, let's look at you, let's listen to your story, and we see how to help you. So in the end, the sexual abuse has caused trauma, and someone has chosen to.
Even the physical abuse, but also again, like going back to the family dynamics and everything, you find that some of the things that are happening within families, and you hear people openly speaking about them, that they're not the first, like it's been happening, or the community even knows about it, like that family, they do this and that. And for instance, for cases of where families, like incest is happening within a family, and then you hear people speaking of it within the community, like, yeah, it happens, like that family is known for doing that. And I'm like, okay, this is a whole cycle, like so many generations, unhealed trauma, like psychological trauma over and over again. That's also something that needs to be addressed. And also, when I go back to the story of that I just mentioned of a friend, I would want to think that her taking that step and doing that, because you don't know, maybe the mother was also abused in the same way as her, and she didn't know better, or she thought that was, because for some people who have been abused in certain different ways, it becomes a norm, like they become numb to what's happening to them, and for them it's okay, like
Because something has happened over and over again, it becomes
exactly.
normal. They simply
Right.
adapt to it and take it as is.
Right. But also, if we are looking at breaking these cycles, we need to do the work
Yeah,
ourselves,
sure.
before we
Sure.
start these families, or even when we've just started the families, but wanting to see different, wanting to see better, of now it's me, I will not give excuses anymore, you understand? Because now I know, and I need to change that, because when it's you doing that, then what excuse are you going to give? Your children will be referring to you, not your grandparents or their grandparents. So we need to be more honest about such things, of how, what we are going through, what we are dealing with, and also be supportive and create awareness even within families. For instance,
Mm,
if I say I I for instance, if I say right now I'm aware of certain things, like to a certain degree or to a certain level, that could cause mental health,
mm,
and if I have acquired this knowledge or information, now it's upon
mm,
me to see something happening and speak about it in these family circles, or even beyond the family circles, like the community itself, because
Make
then
it
it's
known.
right.
Make it
I
known
have to
and
speak about
caution.
it. Right.
Yeah.
Speak about it, and speak of the consequences that would come, out of that, but also be the support that I want to see uh, transitioned, or expanding to now from me to another person and another person and another person, and becomes a whole community that people
Yeah.
can, the young generation can bank on for support. Because we have to
Mm,
agree, when you're transitioning into adulthood, it's not an easy stage, and there's so much that happens, and um, there's so much of, I would say, awareness that has to happen. So if you miss certain things, or if you don't get the support that you need, it's in a way going to affect you later. in your life?
Negative family, which would obviously start with the parents. There's this thing I've not just learned, I know for a fact that a child doesn't just learn from what you tell them. They learn a lot from what they see, what you do. So you're going to find a kid who sees their father get aggressive towards the mom, learning that it is something that you can do, and you just, it
Okay,
just passes.
my dad does it, so it's okay.
Substance abuse. You could be a guy that smokes. You could be a mother that smokes. But must you do it in front of the kids? Because this kid is going to see you smoking a cigarette or whatever, and they'll get curious. They will think to themselves, what's this? They might even think it's cool to, puff that smoke in the air. So
Some
before
even give it to them to try.
you can imagine, before you know
Yeah.
it, this kid realizes, okay, that's where dad keeps the cigarettes. They will steal them, and then they'll try them out. And before you know it, they're smoking at a very tender age. Before you know it, these kids are sick at a very tender age. And it is going to be on you as a father, as a mother. It's going to be on you as a parent. So it would affect them by getting them sick, but it is going to traumatize them at the end of the day, because this is something they have seen their parents do. And their parents have not even guided them about what to do and what's healthy and what, they wouldn't want their kids to do. And they would start blaming themselves or blaming their parents or blaming whatever. So the problem is within. It started from within, it is within, and it is just going to carry on.
It's taught, yeah.
It's taught, and how this kid learns about it is because they see their parents do it. Because
and kids learn so much from what they see, because the minds are curious, so they want to know why are you doing that.
why?
Yeah, why I also want to do it and find out. So yeah, it's really crucial. It's a very crucial age, especially when you're growing up, but also again, when you're a kid, when you're young, or when you're a kid, you have this energy, you have, like, your mind is really open to learning a lot of things. And
Whatever you see, you pick, you learn, you do, you
right,
try out.
right.
Sometimes you're doing something not because you don't know it's bad, but because you want to try it out and see if because some of these things are even taught in school. A child goes to school, and let's say they've even been able to read the risk implication on that box of a cigarette.
But they still want to experience it.
They will read it, and then they'll know it will cause whatever, lung cancer or whatever, but they'll still go ahead to smoke. Why? Because
We
they've
used to
seen their
learn
dad
about
do
them.
it.
Yeah, we used to learn
They've
about all these things in school, like this or that. Like, we would even have days where we have counselors come and talk about certain things. But then again, like I said, if at home it's okay, who are you talking to me? Because
Then why not?
there are those people with strong heads. It has to take a lot of talking to get to them, or it has to take, unfortunately, a certain, like a tragedy or something, for them to learn from
Experience,
their
let's
mistakes.
say.
Right. Yeah.
But
But the other
again, it
thing I
is
want to talk
crazy.
about, Isaac, is there are no, but like, one of the things I would say, like, now that I know better, that I would say can impact you negatively in especially your well-being, your mental well-being, is having no boundaries, when there are no boundaries in a family. And
Mm,
I know you, if, like I said, if you've grown up in an African home, it's everywhere, like the black tax, or not the black tax, but the tax, the family tax
mm,
and everything. But
mm,
from my experience, I would say the black tax. And as a youth, you're trying to figure out life, you're trying to break, financially, to have that sort of financial freedom. And in a
mm.
country like ours, where even employment is a struggle, but also even when you land on one, I mean, they're not the most of the best paying jobs, and there's so
Yeah.
much that's happening that you have to spend on. So you realize that if you don't have boundaries,
Mm,
and you have this demanding family of the entitlement of to your money or to your things, it can be really hard. And you
mm.
find that each time you're stressed, or you find it hard to manage stress, because you've taken on so much financial burdens. And not just even financial burdens, you're the person who's everywhere helping everyone. If they need someone in the hospital, you're there, because you're like, okay, if I don't show up, they're going to say this or that. if
You
if
you're
Right,
like the savior of the family. You have a Jesus
exactly.
Christ
Yeah.
complex.
Recently, I was in the village. I had lost my granny, so I had to travel for like the final burial arrangements and everything. And I was having a conversation with one of the distant relatives, who was telling me how I'm lost, no communication and all. And I told her, you realize that you're not the only one with issues, and life can be so hard that I don't have to come and explain to me what's going on in my life. But how about you check on me as well, just as I was checking on you before? And wouldn't you be curious that, okay, if Rachel used to check about me, rather check on me before, but she stopped, wouldn't you be curious, or wouldn't you be concerned to find out what's happening? You understand?
Maybe she's not
So,
okay.
exactly. So I had to speak on that, but I also had to respectfully, because again, as an African child, you have to be
Mm,
respectful, even
yeah,
if
yeah.
it's offending, but
By
respectfully
default.
by default. So I
Uh,
had to respectfully put her in her place, but also remind her that, hey, you're not the only one with problems. And now that I'm an adult, I have so much that's going on in my life. The best thing would be to know how I'm doing, how is life lately, before you bash me with all these, you no longer check on me. Why is this and that? Like, really attacking me for no reason.
don't
So,
attack. Seek to find out.
exactly.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, it's healthy to create boundaries, even if it's with family. If you feel like it's taking you a certain way, please save you before, because no one is coming to save you. No one is even going to realize. For some people, you have to first speak about it for them to understand.
Mm.
Because sometimes you want to assume, oh, they can see, or they know I'm okay, rather I'm not okay, or this or that. Yeah, some people see that, but they really don't care. They want you to speak about it. That,
So
please,
so whatever it is that is
yeah,
bothering you, you don't say
that's
it's your
bothering
problem.
you. But like
Face
I
it.
said, we have if a family environment is not supportive enough, or if you're not comfortable, it is so hard, because you find that when it's you know people who dread going to family gatherings because of what's going to happen there. And when you're not financially okay,
Mm.
for, for some family members, you don't belong. Like, why are you
For
even here?
example,
Yeah.
there's a gathering, let's say in the village, like how so many families have routine gatherings. Some have at the beginning of the year, some have in the middle of the year, and then some would choose to have at the end of the year. Or if it's just a function, it is a traditional wedding, it's name it, whatever occasion that takes you back to the village or to meet up with family. As long as you're not financially stable, you do not have the right to speak or suggest
Who are you?
or
What
or
say?
say anything. They most times they want you to be the guy that does, let's say, the donkey work, fetching
Yeah.
water, splitting
Mm.
firewood, etc. Why? Because apparently you don't have money. What are you contributing? What are you putting on table? Why
Yeah.
torment that person? How are they going to get encouraged to, hustle hard and find that bag? It
Mm.
is beginning from right there. Unless you support your partner, your brother, sister, whoever it is in your family, support them. Once that
Yeah.
support is not there, they are going to feel left out. They are going to feel lonely, useless. You know, they won't feel anything like importance. And because of that, it will drive us to that mental illness. Someone
Yeah.
is going to hate themselves. They're going to blame themselves for what is happening. Because
They're
again,
going
life
to
is
go
never.
into isolation, and then also they'll be called out for that as well. Like, oh, you no longer show up for this and that, you don't do this and that. But you push them into that corner, you push them into that situation, So,
You got
and
you got them. You got them not to want to attend that occasion
yeah, the other
because they're going to
common
be.
thing. Yeah, the other
Mm,
common thing I see, I mean, we see this on the news headlines, we see this in like everywhere, face social media platforms of um of the land issues or the property issues. That's a whole other thing. And I also want to believe, again, if there is all that negativity in the family, if there's no love or support or
mm,
understanding of some sort of, you know, it's a problem in a way, because how you've had stories of when for some people, again, they have experienced this. I would say I've been fortunate that I've not
mm,
experienced some things personally, but I have experienced them through friends or through certain relatives or through people I know, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So you've just lost your, I know someone, they had just lost their father, and then shortly after they lost their mother. But they were sort of a well-to-do family, I would say the
Yeah.
middle class, they were
Mm,
there. And now that the parents are gone, so the family that would help, like the uncles and the aunties, that the grandparents that would, instead of stepping in to help,
the
how being
closest.
concerned of how should we take care of these kids, they still have school, they are emotionally shattered, and they need to fill that void of absence, that now
Mm,
that their parents are not there, they were just tossing them around, making them feel more miserable, because they were taking all the property, they were throwing them out of the house they have grown up from, they were being taken out of the good schools, like the kind of life, like they were being stripped of all that they knew, the life they knew, and pushed into a life they had even never experienced. So how is that person going to turn up, and how is that person, because for some people it's so bad that they become so miserable, but they also get this type of hatred that they end up unliving, like some of these relatives or themselves, if it's
you
that
know,
bad.
I put up a tweet. Should I call it a post since it's X? I put up a tweet. Um, I think it was yesterday. Let me just check it out here. And I think it's just this experience that has taught me to just show kindness to whoever. You know,
Exactly.
I don't have to know you to show you kindness. This is I posted this yesterday. As long as you know for sure that the cruelty they show you won't kill you, pay them back with kindness, because they could be going through pain that only kindness can heal. Did you hear that, or you want me to say it again?
Uh,
As long as you know for sure that the cruelty they show you won't kill you, pay them back with kindness, because they could be going through pain that only kindness can heal.
yeah.
Here, what was going through my mind, because I'm a deep thinker, I think it's I don't know if I should thank God for it, or
I
it
can
is something
relate.
that
I
it
mean,
is something that
it's good, but it's also bad sometimes because sometimes you in your head, you're fighting these demons, and if you don't control it, you might end up acting on what.
sometimes I overdo it, I guess.
Yeah.
Why I came up with such a post is there's people that just be rude to you out of, and you try to understand why. You totally
They
have no
project. Some people project also.
you have no connection of sorts. You have no relationship, as in there's nothing that connects you that should make them be bad to you or cruel to you or do anything negative to you. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe this person is going through things. Maybe so many things are happening and they just can't help but be cruel to whoever, be rude to whoever. So you end up being the victim of cruelty because someone has issues at home, because someone's mental health is not as good. So the best thing you could do, even when someone has showed you cruelty, is just give them just be
Kindness.
polite, be kind to them. I you
Would
know,
say also,
this kindness is it's like a vaccine, it's a medicine that can heal someone. Because if someone is rude to you, if someone does something cruel to you and all you do is smile at them or just apologize to them, or just apologize, for example, they've harmed you, and then you say sorry, I made you do that. You know,
mhm,
I'll give you an example. There's a dairy where I sometimes go buy milk, and when they run out of change, let's say they do not have change to give me back my balance, they tell me, we don't have change, maybe next time. And it's not one person that works there, so sometimes it's girls, and it's two girls, and then the owners, husband and wife, that run it, but it's usually the girls. Now I don't know those girls by name, I just go buy my milk and go. So the both of them, I left change for the both of them, but they somehow look alike, they're all light. And then when I come back to buy more milk, I find that the one I left my change with the previous day isn't the one in. So I tell her, I'm not so sure if it was you, but I left my change with someone. And then she all just goes mad at me. Do I look like the person you left that change with?
wow.
Am I the one? You didn't leave me with any change. I told her, I just asked if it
So
was
much
you.
for customer care.
Because when I look at you kind of resemble. I am not
Yeah,
sure if it was you.
exactly.
And then she gives me milk, and then she says she doesn't have change again. So I look at her in the face and I tell her, my dear, I am going to come back here tomorrow for my change. And you will still tell me you don't remember. So later on, I think 2 days later, I go back to the shop and they are both there. So I asked them, I left my change with you the other day, and then I left my change with, like I told both of them, do you remember? The one that was cruel tells me she doesn't remember. The
Yeah.
one who wasn't also shook her head, saying they don't remember. Then I smiled at them and told them, have a good evening. As I'm walking, the one that wasn't cruel says, hey, I think I remember. That was her just acting. But I simply left the change for them because perhaps they needed it for something. Or,
Mm.
I mean, why would they even lie?
Yeah.
Why would
Yeah.
they lie? So at the back of my mind, I told myself, don't put up a fight. Don't argue with them. Let it go. Let it
Yeah.
pass. In one
Yeah.
way or another, I'm sure it is something that is going to teach them that just be truthful. Be
Yeah.
nice. You did this the first time you argued with this guy, he left, he has come back for his change, and you're still saying he didn't leave any change back and he's smiled and walked away. I did that. When you were telling me that story, I remembered.
Yeah, but also you do it because honestly you can never be sure, but you do it hoping that it could do something, it could speak them in a certain way. And
It could
again,
impact on them
yeah,
in a nice way.
right. But also again, in as much as we want to be kind and all, we can still be kind, but call out people on their, yeah, like you've done something to me and I know it could be a trigger to whatever issues I'm having or whatever PTSD that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
So because for some of us we have self-control, like we control our temper. I am good at like to a certain extent, like I I control my temper even when I could do. Sometimes I
React
just
a
want to,
certain.
yeah, sometimes I just want to go think about something or cry about it if I have to, and then come
Yeah,
and address it when I'm calmer because, yo, you could do something that you would later regret or could
I know.
end up into something else. So, what am I trying to say here? You can still be kind, but call out on people. I believe, and this is from life experience, my life experience of
Yeah.
there are times when things happen and you would have reacted differently, but you're like, you know what? I'm just going to say nothing. Like this is a place for saying nothing. And then there are times when things happen and it's a place to set records straight and call out whoever you have to call out on. And you can still do it respectfully, you can still do it with kindness, but you've set that boundary. Like I said, Isaac, when you
Yeah.
look at some of the issues we are dealing right now that are impacting our mental health, like you're dealing with anxiety, you're dealing with stress, some of these things come from us not speaking up when we have to speak up. Like someone has done something to you, your father's done something to you, your mother's done something to you, and you want to lose it off. But again,
It's
also
it's
you
important
want to find
sometimes
this
to.
closure. Yes, you want to find this closure and speak about it. Again, when I turned 24, yeah, I there was something that was really bothering me, and it's a conversation I needed to have with my dad because I felt as a person it had impacted me in a way that I had started seeing relationships in a certain way because of my dad was the kind that would he was always traveling. He was always
Yeah.
traveling. And yeah, he was always traveling. And because I grew up in like sometimes I would be away. Visiting maybe or with my mom and all that. So you would find that we don't get enough time to have like maybe conversations or this father daughter kind of bond. So it's until when and because me, I thought, okay, that's okay. I think that's the normal father-daughter kind of relationship. But then again, because I'd seen others, so I was like, but it can't be, because again, if it's, we have in Ugandan schools, we have, if you're in a boarding school, we have those visitation days where parents come and visit students, then to bring like to like kind of check on them. How are they faring in the schools? Are they okay health wise,
So
academically? And
you would see a relationship between them and their
exactly. So
dads.
yeah, so sometimes that would be a way. Okay, most times it would be a way, like traveling and all that. So I wanted to understand, like, does it happen with every student has a father? Or so anyway, when I grew up, I wanted to understand and more other things. And I was like, okay, we need to have a conversation. Dad, we need to have a conversation, because I feel a certain kind of way, and now I think it's kind of, I'm kind of, because I'd learned, I'd become more self-aware of my mental health, but also because I was on a journey of self-awareness, and I was in the process of transitioning into different complexities of life. So
Mm,
I understood certain things in a way. I was at a point where I was unlearning things and learning things. So I didn't want to carry sentiment. So I wanted to settle that. And I it's I'd come to a point where I'd unmasked, like, all these things I'd been trying to hide for a long
mm,
time, all these emotions.
yeah.
And I remember when I talked to him, we had a conversation, and I mean, in a way, he was surprised, because he didn't sort of see it, or he saw it, but he didn't think it was that deep, like it had affected me to that level. And also, I also found out some things as well, so I got to learn his perspective, and I was like, okay, I it's so I would say I found closure in a way. And that came from me speaking about it, like having a conversation with him.
Did it put you in a position of realization that perhaps you should have had that conversation a lot earlier than
Exactly.
later?
Right,
Because you would
right.
have felt a lot better if you knew and understood exactly why your dad doesn't show up sometimes.
Yeah, and it also it made me realize that speaking up is really important, like especially how you feel. And parents, for young parents who would be watching this, and for those who are aspiring to be parents, I would
Mm.
say it's really important to, like, create a safe environment for your children where they are comfortable speaking, about so many
About
things with you. Like,
anything.
yeah, they should confide in you, but they should also have this kind of relationship where if they come to speak to you about things, don't be dismissive. Or if you feel like you are the kind that is struggling with something, it could also be a conversation you could have with your kids, especially if they reach to a certain age, or you seek help, because especially if you realize it's going to become a problem. Yeah. So for me, I would say, because I was self-aware. If I wasn't self-aware, I
Mm.
wouldn't know. I would still be in my world
In
of,
your head, still thinking your
exactly,
dad
trying to figure
wasn't
out
the
where does
best
this
dad.
come from, where, yet he was amazing and he was the best. It's just that life, it took me to get to this level in my life, or in at this point in my adulthood life, to understand that people can be busy, people can be stressed, people can, be going through it, and they don't speak about it, because not everyone can speak about it, and some people are not even aware of what's happening to them. So it took me to understand that, to put myself in his circumstances and realize that, hey, you should
He
be
just didn't do it because he
exactly,
wanted to do it. It was
yeah,
necessity. And who
yeah,
knows, if you hadn't talked about it, you would be that biased person about men to begin with. This is how men are. I mean, it began with my dad. He wasn't here. Will my husband be? Will my boyfriend be? And at the end of the day, that is something that would affect you forever. As long
yeah,
as you never got closure, as long as you never communicated about it, there's something that you carry along.
yeah,
I'll tell you something about some people that turn out to be perfectionists of sorts. And I know this is something that grows with you, but it begins in your mind. For example, you are in a family where most of your family members do certain things that you don't agree about. For example, I'll just give you an example of polygamy. You know, most of our African families are polygamous. I'm not saying it's I don't want to sound like I am so against polygamy, because sometimes
are
these
you
things
known
happen.
so?
Well, truth is, sometimes
Are you are you a
circumstances push.
polygamous man?
I
Maybe
am
let's
not.
start
I don't believe in polygamy. I believe that you choose someone and you commit with them to live the rest of your life with them. My
there.
principle growing up has been, find a woman, that you love. Let them love you back and have babies with them. Make sure that your first kid is with them and your last kid is with them. You
Oh,
know, I've dreamt that, make sure that all your kids call the same woman mother. And I've always wanted to make sure that all my kids never have anyone they call stepbrother, stepsister. How can this happen? If you simply commit with one woman and make sure that they are committing with you as one man.
yeah,
Simply be the two of you, make whichever number of kids you want together, and let them grow in a what's the word?
monogamous.
Monogamous.
Yeah,
Exactly. But because I have seen the consequences of polygamy, and the experiences come from my uncles, my dad, it's been generations of, family members choosing polygamy, if you get what I mean. And the consequences have been evident. You might be so wealthy, because so many people say, if you have money and you can provide for all these women, certain religions also accept that. And if you can give them what they need, get number one, get number two, get number three. But at the end of the day, there's a certain friction that comes along. Not all
mhm,
these not all these kids are going to be close to each other. They're going to be jealous of each other. They're going to be envious of each other. If the kids do not have that, for example, if you try so much not to instill that hatred or envy or jealousy amongst the kids, it's going to be instilled by the mothers. Because trust me, there is no woman whatsoever wants to be number two or number three. No woman wants to compete for a man. And vice versa. I know that for a fact. So based on that, I'm like, okay, can we solve this situation by simply making decisions, important decisions, and sticking to them? Can we have principle? Can we
yeah,
stick to simply having each other as, husband and wife, mother and father? Let's not create things that we know are going to turn out ugly in the future, because we know there is something that, let's say, A wealthy man would still go like, I have my money, I have woman number one in such a village. I've set up for them. That's where they live. They are in their space. Woman number two is in their own space. Three in their own space. Who is going to attack the other? Who is going to be jealous or envious about the other? Once
Yeah.
upon a time, when you die, they will learn about it. And that's where the chaos is going to breed. They might live in harmony because they don't know about the other's existence. But as long as they learn, even if what you leave them is put in a will nicely, trust
Yeah.
me, someone is going to feel like they have been cheated. Someone is going to feel like what they have been given is not as worthy. They will still feel like, but why did wife number 3 get the other house, let's say in Muyenga, and then I got one in Bombo or Kawempe? They will still feel like, okay, you have been put in a place that it is prime land, it is close to town, it is, maybe it's a bigger house, and yet they could even be
Yeah.
the same size. Very small. Okay, this one's kids went to that school. Why didn't mine go to that one? They
Mine
took
go
them.
to this one.
So in one way or another, if the beef or the fights don't brew amongst the kids, they will brew within the women, and these women will instill that hatred in the kids. And whether you like it or not, there will always be friction. So
Yeah.
I feel like get yourself in polygamy because of necessity. For example, we have gotten married, we've tried to have kids, we've sought to get medical care, we've tried to do it over a period of time, and we just can't have the kids. That way, trust me, even you being my wife, you would allow me to get someone else
Yeah.
out of here because I need to have kids and we cannot have them together. So it could be my problem, it could be your problem. Maybe there is no compatibility in terms of, because there's some couples that might not be able to make kids. I don't know what it is called, but in medicine, there are people that even if you have sexual intercourse, you won't have kids. And that's basically it. But you found yourself in a marriage and you've lived years and you just didn't know. In
Right.
such a situation where you feel like you cannot let it go, you let your man have another woman. Yes, that would be wife number 2, but it was
That
only
is
necessary.
debatable.
Why would you
But
say
anyway,
debatable?
yeah, it's debatable. But I'd be going so far away from that topic. That's a story for another day. But I would say from what I've so far shared and from my example of my family, I mean,
Yeah.
I have a family. I'm not yet married, or I don't have kids, but I do have a family that aside from my blood family, I
Yeah.
have also created a group of amazing friends that have become family. I would say I have an amazing social, a firm social support to bank on for anything, And I would say for some people who have been unfortunate to not have families or to who have cut ties with families, or they have issues with families based on the reasons that they have, you can still create a family away from your blood family.
It doesn't
It
have to
doesn't
always be a blood
exactly, you can
family anyway.
create your network of family, and uh, they could be your mentors for so many things, because in this life we need to have each other as we transition through different life is complexities. So
Yeah.
I would say, it's also good for your mental well-being, because you realize sometimes you can't solve everything on your own. You
You
need people
can't.
who are not even like your family. Like, there are things you can't speak about with your family, like especially if you don't have that kind of relationship. You need to speak
Yeah.
about them with your friends, with whoever you would regard as family. And the
Yeah.
other thing, I would say, quick backstory of when I was growing up, even now, I have really
Mm.
amazing aunties and uncles. Because when I lost my mother, my dad could not do it on his own, and they stepped in. They became, I call them, when I'm telling other people, like auntie mummies or things like that. So they became the mothers, even at the young age they were at. They became the mothers and the fathers to me, and
Mm.
they loved me like their own. They provided this safe environment for me to speak about things, for me to feel I could, be this or that. So a great part of that has shaped me into who I am today, and I'm thankful to them. Honestly, I
Mm.
remind them of that each day. I give them their flowers. Remember to give the people who have done those great things their flowers when they're still here.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I'm saying that I need to stress that it's important when we are looking at addressing this whole thing of negative family values and dynamics.
Mm.
Empathy goes a long way. You spoke
Yeah.
of kindness, so empathy. The world needs empathy, and
Empathy.
we need to express it in the way we relate with people.
Yeah.
We need to extend grace. We need to extend grace to people,
Yeah.
because again, sometimes we don't know what people are dealing with, and sometimes we don't know if you're going to be the cause to someone getting worse, to someone doing something will turn out to be something that's negative to society or to even you as a person. So
Mm.
we need to extend grace to people, but also, um I re-echo my my uh, my point that I talked about before. We need to be honest. Let's have
Honesty is key.
Yeah, let's
Honesty.
embrace that open communication of, please speak your mind. Some people are
Mm.
going to get hurt, you know.
But just speak your mind.
Yeah, speak your mind, like, and then let's be respectful of people's different perspectives about different stuff, because I find that's also another problem of, there are people who do not have that respect of, if let's say we are in a family and we are trying to make certain plans for, could be a wedding, could be family project or something, and then there are people who can't even allow you to speak or say something about, like, give your contribution, like in a way of, in a way of
Mm.
planning or something like that. So we, as people, we need to be really understanding of that. Like, your opinion is your opinion, but also listen to other people's opinions. You can give your counsel if they are wrong, but still find a way to package it that is respectful, because at the end
Mm.
of the day, no one wants to be disrespected. And I'm a Christian. If you're Christians, pray for each other, because the devil is working hard to
Yeah.
dismantle the whole family dynamic system. And a family
Mm.
that prays together stays together. The other thing I would say, and this is from experience,
Yeah.
boundaries. Like,
Mm.
when you come into this realization, if that's not the background you come from, this
Yeah.
realization of, I need to set boundaries, please do, because it's
Mm.
going to save you from a lot of things. It's going to save you from a lot of nonsense. It's going to save you from a lot of, I would say, it's going to save you time, because time is money
Mm.
again, but it's going to save you a lot of time that you would have spent on fighting with people, or you're in your head fighting demons because of what someone said, and you didn't call them out on that. It's going to save you, in a nutshell, from a lot of nonsense. So set boundaries financially, health wise. Doesn't matter how much you love those people, how much you love your mother or your father, but there has to be certain boundaries that are set. And for
Mm.
parents, provide that environment like where your children feel safe enough to talk to you about different things, like walk this journey with them, because they are growing, they need to figure out life. Walk the journey with them, don't shame them just because they've not achieved a certain something that a certain
Because their
uncle.
report doesn't look as good,
Exactly,
you
because
you are saying,
yeah, you realize that some children, even adults, have ADH, and that's if it's
mm,
different. For some people it's extreme and others, but you know how it affects your areas of how you perform. Sometimes you find that you want to do everything, but you can't do anything. At the end of the day, you've not done
mm,
anything. So it can be in children, and it could be the reason why their performance is not good. So before you criticize, find out why. Like, why is it happening? Do they need help? Be that active parent, be that active family member, be that supportive family member, be the reason why someone 20 years later or 10 years later, they look back and they're like, Auntie Rachel or Uncle Isaac is the reason why um, this. I can speak up. I have this high self-esteem. I am good with communication, or I'm a good
mm.
listener, or anything that's good and positive, because you helped them through that. You helped them figure out that phase in that difficult phase in their lives. So be that Uncle Isaac to a friend's child, or like we said,
Yeah,
it's not just blood family, it extends to
yes.
friends and so many other people. So let's step into our roles in whichever capacity, but also let's be good citizens and good people that we want to others to be, or we want to be overall, to build the community that we want at the end of the day.
Okay, as we get to the end of this, I would like to point out the one thing that I think that some of the things that we should do to address negative family environment as a cause of mental illness is find out where it is coming from. Why is this person rude to me? Why are they hurling an insult at me? Why does this person call me sorts of names? Why are they doing this? If you find out this brother of mine is doing calling me names or hurling insults at me, is it because this is something that dad does to mom? You know, if that is, then curb it from the root. Curb it from the root. Know that, because it can never be a smooth road. If mom and dad are having an argument about something, must it happen in the living room where the kids are? If you have disagreed about something as parents, I feel like you should have your privacy to talk about it either in the bedroom or the following day when the kids have gone to school. You could simply also decide to take a walk, go out, tell them you need to it could be you taking your wife for an outing, but you are going to talk as man and wife.
Work
Get
it
there
out. Yeah.
and be mad at her eh, while you are there in your privacy. Don't do it with the kids, because you will do it with the kids and they will be affected at the end of the day. All they want is harmony amongst their parents, but they're seeing dad and mom exchange. What do you expect of them? Let it start there. What is the root cause of that negative vibe within the family? Find it, curb it, deal with it there and then. You mentioned being open and talking things through, whatever it is. I believe, and I agree with you, that unless you talk about things, nothing is going to get resolved. We are so expectant of our families, and we just feel like they must do this, they should do this. And when they don't do it, you are mad at them, but you haven't even talked to them to find out why they haven't. And
Yeah.
the example is, you, for example, you expected your dad to visit you every visitation Sunday, but he didn't. If you
Until I
had
got
maybe
to understand, until I got
until
to
you
experience it.
a
And I was like,
lot later,
oh, people can be busy. People can be dealing with stress and this and that. People have to look for money. So they
now
can't be
now
there whenever it's
imagine
there. So
imagine you had talked about it back then when you were in high school. You wouldn't
yeah.
even feel these things later.
But also
So
now that I would say uh if 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 I ever get to that point in my life, let's say now I am the parent and now I have to be my dad back then,
mm,
I I would even want to do it better. I think I would want to talk to my kid and I'm like, hey, daughter or son, I know it's going to be a visitation or something like that, but I have to be away for this and that. And you understand, you have to be in school, to have the school, the tuition and all. So I have to be away for this and that. So I can't afford to be there every term, every academic term to come and visit you. But I could compensate it with something. Like I would want to make them understand so I don't leave
make
that.
it up to them.
Exactly. I don't leave that space of them imagining or them thinking that, oh, I'm not loved enough, or this and this are happy, this and this is
Also,
happening.
when VD comes and other parents have come to visit other kids, they won't
Yeah,
have that anxiety of, oh my God, is mine coming? Will they come? They might not come
exactly.
again. They will be calm. They will know dad communicated earlier, mom communicated earlier that they might not make it.
Or
If
you
they do
could
not
even
make it,
find a way to compensate in whichever way, or talk about it. Could be during the holidays, and as you're going over their school performance
or
and
if
everything.
I don't come on VD, I can come on that day of MDD, or I can
Exactly.
come any other day, which is not necessarily VD, and I make it up
Yeah.
to you.
I'm
Or
speaking
during
of
holiday,
I'm speaking in a scenario where you are entirely unable to, like come because you could be out of the country. Like sometimes it would be
Mhm.
out of the country. So if you're out of the country and now there is that period where you do catch up parenting. I don't know if
Mm,
that's a thing, but I would want to call it that for lack of a better word. You catch
yeah,
up on this parenting. I want to tell you children are very curious, and we notice, like they notice things, and you realize
yeah,
that as it goes on over and over again, it could two things. It could either push them to isolate, or it could push them to become this other different type of kid. So we
I
also, for those that know, or for us that know, we also need to do better.
know.
Yeah.
I have a son. He
Be
made
better
6.
aunties, be better uncles, be better guardians, be better mothers or fathers, and
I
change
have a
these
son
dynamics.
who made 6 this year,
Oh,
and yeah, you know how
okay. Now
kids
I'm speaking to a whole parent. Okay.
hold dad.
A
There are those
whole
times
dad.
that you go with a child to, let's say, a supermarket, and you need to, grab 1 2 things, and then this kid also just goes ahead and they keep picking stuff, whatever they want, or they keep saying, daddy, I want this, daddy, I want that. I love the fact that it started with us arguing. No, you can't have that. We'll get it the next time. I do not have enough money, to a point where he now asks me sometimes, daddy, do you have money? And then in my mind, I'm like, okay, where are you taking this? I
This
tell
happened
him,
after the this
I
happened
have
after
some
you had the argument, of
after
did
after
you make
after
him
we
understand the money, or
after we
or-
had several arguments, like so many, and we fought. Then sometime I was going out, and then I told him, you know what, Ethan, I don't want to go out with you because when we get there, you want to take everything. I want to get you something that I can, but when
yeah,
I can't get you other things, you just cry and you throw tantrums and then you embarrass me, and I don't
yeah,
feel good about it. Imagine this boy understood it to a point
because you had
that
that open communication with him, but you also made him understand that it's not about what you want all the time. It's
you
about
can't
what's
have
on your
what you
budget.
want all the time.
Exactly.
So then, the next time I am going out, he tells me, Daddy, I want to come with you. I'm not going to cry for things. We'll just pick
Wow.
out, like we'll agree. By the
Yeah.
time he got to a point where he asks me if I have money, like he needs something, I tell him, I have some. And he goes, okay, I want this bike, red bike. And he starts to describe exactly what he wants. I was so touched for a 6-year-old to first of all seek to find out if the dad has money
He has money.
be-
Yeah.
before he begins saying what he wants.
Right. Because you fostered that kind of environment that you can openly talk to me and
Yeah.
money
I would
and you
want
spend it. Yeah.
anyone out there, whoever, as long as a kid, because kids do it when they're kids. They are just being kids. They want what they want. But
They
if
do.
you can communicate with them, you will make them understand how they should behave, and they will respect that. That only happens when your relationship is good. Don't be the guy, don't be the woman that goes back home and your child goes to hide under the bed. And we
But
won't
also for
have any
people who
major.
have people with chronic, I would say, mental health issues, or in not just parents but also family members and all that, they should be treated like human beings, the same way you would want to be treated as a human being if you were in that condition or in their place. They should also be taught as human beings. And again, I would say it's our place to speak about, or to call out, or to speak, it will be the voice if they're not the voice. If you see something that's happening within a family and it's affecting someone else, or it's affecting you yourself, speak about it, or fight for
Yeah,
that
sure.
person. Maybe they are not strong enough to fight for themselves, you fight for them. Call out
Yeah.
that uncle if you have to call out that uncle for abusing their daughter or their cousin or whoever. So also, Isaac, I think it's important that people seek help, professional help, because there's help that you can't get from the internet, but you need to check into a health institution to get that help.
As long as you feel you can't take it anymore, as long as you feel depressed, as long as you feel too much
Or have
anxiety,
someone force you to go there, or have someone take you there.
that's you having a relationship with someone you care about. And when they see you are not good up here, they will know that maybe this is the time I should take them. And they indeed take you to that professional.
Yeah, and also we need to speak more about good mental health, because some people want to know how you are okay to, like, how are you handling things, how are you always in
I think I
glowing
think
and
I
all this.
I think also it is because some people don't know they are mentally unstable. Some people don't know they are facing something with themselves. They're
Yeah,
psychologically suffering.
I get that, but I'm also saying that sometimes we don't talk about when we are okay. We only want to talk about when we are not okay. You understand? So how about also we talk about when we are okay, especially for those of especially for the people who are self-aware, that you know the times when you're not okay and you know the times when you're okay, and works for you, what routine, like the routines and everything. Because like I said, we sometimes we are not honest. Like even when you're okay, you want to sort of lie because you don't want people to be in your space or all those
Yeah,
other
I
things,
know.
which is okay. But again, let's
Because
also advocate for
you know
that as
people are bad. Sometimes when you tell someone things are happening for you,
yeah,
they feel
things are
bad
going
about it.
well.
They start envying you. They'll even give you bad energy. You have
Yeah,
achieved something small, and then they're like, "Oh, na mala kona ye." If you get what I mean,
I think
as
that's
in
their problem. I mean,
encourage
that's
me.
your problem. If you feel like you don't want to be happy for me, or if you feel like what I'm doing and I'm doing it genuinely is a problem for you, then I mean, for my mental health, I have that thing for the sake of my sanity. If I
Mm,
have to take you out of the picture from my life, then please exit. Like
that
there's
would be
no
safer.
there's no negotiation about that.
That would be
Yeah,
safer.
the people
Um,
pleasing phase is
I know.
done.
Unless you
Yeah.
have anything to add, we've been here for an hour and a half, more than
I
an hour and a half.
mm,
I would want to have this closed.
I don't think I have. I mean, I have so much to say, but I
The
have
time
also said
factor.
a lot. I've also said a lot, but I would say it's. I'll just keep encouraging. Like I even offline here in my life, like I
Yeah.
want to encourage people to have that empathy, but also to love yourself enough to know when you're hurting, to know when you
Yeah.
have to stop, to know when to say no, like to know when to speak, to know when to just keep quiet, because also keeping quiet is okay. To know when to think. People take time to think. Get off those phones. Get off social
Mm,
media. Think. Be in your head, because sometimes you could be the problem and you don't know. You don't realize it. Every time you run to social media to find excuses for your bad behavior. So it's also important to check yourself as a person and see if are you the problem, are you the cause to what's happening, are you that
mm,
bad family member, that bad sister, that nagging auntie, or what are you not doing right that you need to do better. So it all starts with us understanding ourselves, doing the work ourselves before we even help other people, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You have to be good to pass on that energy.
Yeah.
Even
You
but
don't have
again,
to be perfect, but you
sometimes
you have to
sometimes things
realize,
are happening.
yeah,
Sometimes things are happening, and sorry, we had to talk over each other. Things are happening, and
that's
there's
how the
people
conversation flows. Yeah.
who are going through things at the same time. But if you are in a position to help out that someone, because energy doesn't lie. If I'm having a conversation with you and I feel like you are not sounding the best way you sound, because I've heard you speak before, and maybe there are those elements that give me a sign that I feel like Rachel isn't good. I feel like something is wrong. She's not talking about it, but there is something wrong. In as much as I might have things going on in my life, I get in touch. I could just inbox you or call you, and prompt you to talk about whatever it is that we have to talk about,
Yeah.
and just release it, take it out, that stress or whatever, that anger, burn it out, rant it, or
Yeah.
tell me anything. Just listening in itself is good.
Yeah, we
And
should also understand the value of family and how that shapes the whole community at all. Because if we come out here, or if we are out there and complaining about the bad politics or the bad politicians, it starts from family. You
yeah,
understand? It starts
yeah,
from family. So if we want to see a better community, a better Uganda, better governance, better everything, we need to go back and check these family dynamics, the values and everything, because
yeah,
it most of it starts from there. And family has so much, like the whole family environment has so much, like it can impact, or how it's the impact it has on the society as a whole is really huge. So if it's not really well designed and it's not supportive, trust me, it's going to affect our sense of social support and how overall, like the level of stimulation from just an individual level to like the whole
I
community level.
I agree with you. Your mental health will start from family,
Yeah,
your society, the people that stay around you. How good or bad it is begins right there. I'd like to take this chance to thank you, Rachel, for
thank you to
hopping on
Isaac.
this. And I would like to thank everyone, kings and queens out there. Johnny Tamaya says she's enjoying this conversation
Oh, hi,
and
Joanita. I didn't know you were
she loves
watching.
she loves that we are talking about this. I am
You
so
should
glad
join us.
you've been here and you've been listening. I am sure everyone else that has been watching, you have picked one or two things. As we come to the end of this, because I'm closing this in the next 2 minutes,
Sure. Could
join
you
us
give a
again
hint to people of what we are talking about next week on Friday, so maybe they could, whoever would
next
want to
week.
hop on and
On
join.
next week, we should touch the next cause. Do you want to suggest that?
I think we should talk about psychological trauma. That's a big thing, and yo, there's so
Psychological
much
trauma.
to like. Yeah, there's so much to digest regarding that.
Mm,
But also it's something that I'm finding that's causing a lot of issues in society
mm,
today. Yeah, there's so much undealt with trauma that people are passing on generation to generation, and it's crazy out
mm.
there in the streets. Yeah,
Psychological trauma.
yeah,
Okay.
or
Let's
trauma.
let's do some research about trauma. Whoever might want to join us next week, Friday, please do some research. Who knows? We might have to get some comments or advice from you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, from the
Also,
team,
even if you don't manage to do research, we would appreciate